My topic this morning is on performance as suspended spaces, a journey to intelligence, interaction, and imagination. Before I begin, I just would like to say a big thank you to Dr. Biju and also to Mr. Shashikumar for facilitating my visit here. I feel honored. Academic conferences are not my domain, and I'm personally from performing arts background, dancer and choreographer. So my presentation will be primarily focused on my artistic work and the kind of larger issues that raises for me in my practice from a perspective of the South Asian contemporary performance artist. First of all, when I think about this subject, I want to think about the context, learning, performance, and intentions that are varied in terms of how we look at performance and how they create or produce spaces. It could be ritual, folk, social, martial, classical, on and off stage, site-specific, prominent, virtual, and you name it. There are different ways of producing work and navigating through them. Now, folk and ritual idioms are largely absorbed by being in the context. The classical definition would say it is not taught, even though it is not quite right all the time, but primarily it is absorbed by being in that context. Now, spaces, senses, and perceptions are kind of interconnected, and because I am from a particular form which is time-based art form, and both dealing with the space and the time at the same time, and the altering of the two. For me, this might be quite true, space-time as a boundless four-dimensional continuum, which is suggested by modern physics, because the continuation of space in our experience with performance and how we articulate that kind of spaces through different strategies might be of interest. Sensing and perceiving the space, both visual, auditory, and textile, olfactory, related to the senses, related to smell sense, and dynamic, energy related, empirical, virtual, conceptual, imaginary. How we perceive these things through our sensory organs and what kind of resonance it creates in us. And only that resonance, what is happening in us, is our experiential reality. So, multidimensionality, whether it is intersections, overlaps, juxtaposition, materialization, disappearance, evolution, dissolving, and mutation of these spaces in the act of creating performance or experiencing performance is vital. I'll come to that in slightly more detail. Now, ritual and folk performances have contributed a lot in the development of further forms like classical or contemporary. Here, for example, I show some images of Yashagana. My talk is primarily visual because of the area I'm working, not the words. And here are some images as to how these kind of, even the costumes and the makeup and the kind of colors create that kind of space. Training is an important way we kind of define space, create space. It helps us to construct a new body, self-agency, and power. So each of the body technique reveals one set of facets of corporeal knowledge. If treated with care, prudence, and cumulative effect can give increased sense of body awareness, proprioception, and kinesthetic intelligence to a discerning student. So when artist is beginning to train, you do not have necessarily a particular body. This has to be constructed. This has to be slowly, with methodical and rigorous training. You have to imagine, image plays a big role in creating that body. And then the process of training, correction through different, it can be visual mimicry, or it could be physical manipulation or suggestion of images. Different strategies you can employ. Rudolf Nureyev is a very famous Russian ballet dancer, said technique is what you fall back on when you run out of inspiration. Martin Graf famously said, movement never lies. Now I look at the different aspects of training. This is a calorie pit, normally dug into the ground to moderate the temperature and acts as a microcosm of mental universe of the practitioner. Abstracted notions of space and time. In the calorie case, for example, the 12 months are referred to as rashis are invoked in